Welcome to the UK Fantasy Football Show, Goal's weekly podcast that discusses many football fans' favourite pastime. We'll be reacting to the results of Game Week 24, diving deep down into Manchester City's season, and revealing our teams for Game Week 25. Joining me, Sam and Dave for this week's show is Goal's Man City correspondent, Jonathan Smith, who's joining us straight from watching City lose to United last night. How was that match?
Yeah, weird one.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've got to the final of the Carabao, but lost to United again, which...
Weird fashion.
That's embarrassing, mate.
The weird thing was that they absolutely dominated the game and still lost. That was the odd thing. You know, one shot on target for United and lost 1-0. It was bizarre.
Yeah, I watched a good chunk of it, and I was annoyed, I think, a little bit. Annoyed at City, just how they pounced about with the ball so much. It was like when at Arsenal and their ticky-tacky rubbishness of just trying to walk it into the net, it was incredibly frustrating. So for that very reason, I hope they lose the final.
There was one horrible moment when David Silva was 10 yards out with an open goal and decided to pass.
Yeah, he passed it backwards.
So I mean, it was that old school Barcelona way.
The other encouraging thing for me, seeing that David Silva did that, had a great opportunity to perform an attacking movement and passed it backwards, was actually maybe Wan-Bissaka's all right. He's had a similar style to David Silva.
Yeah.
Has it got to the stage with City where scoring's no fun anymore?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, if you score without 30 passes before it probably doesn't count.
What's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point?
I kind of like United style this season in that I think that they're starting to be inspired by Newcastle United in just not interested in possession, not interested in playing football, sort of smash and grab really. That's how we're winning this season.
Yeah, I think they're just the new Wolves.
The new Wolves.
Just doing decent against the top.
Yeah.
Horrific against anyone, I don't know, below fourth maybe.
What was the score at the weekend before that in the Premier League? I know you smashed Tranmere, didn't you?
Yeah, you can only beat what's put in front of you.
In the FA Cup, but you lost 2-0 to Burnley before that. That was an unexpected result, I think.
No, it wasn't.
Well,
no, it wasn't.
Says the man who thinks United are going to finish third. Are you still hoping for that? Are you still dreaming of that third place finish?
I'm in a really tough spot with that one now.
Yeah.
Because I still think it's easily feasible that could happen. Of course it is.
It's not easily feasible.
Of course it is.
Feasible.
It's easily feasible in my twisted psyche. But then I think by doing so, it gives United a bit of a get out of jail free card for the summer. Well, they'll go, hey, we finished third. That's an improvement. Look how everything's going in the right direction. And you'll just get more of the same flip-flopping between third and seventh. I don't think they double down and go, right, should we think about maybe winning this sport that we've entered?
United fans have Bruno Fernandes to keep them warm at night now, though.
Yeah.
After the drama that was
obviously
that
I'm basing everyone on YouTube. I've not watched any Sporting Lisbon in the past ever, actually. Just in the past. He looks pretty good. He can take a corner. Seems to beat the first man, which is encouraging. And he's got an all right long distance shot.
That always helps.
Looks reasonably quick.
Yeah.
I love the YouTube highlights of players. When you sign them, you go on, you watch them, like, oh my god, what a player we've got here. And then in reality, they get on the pitch and they're just like, can't even kick the ball straight.
Well, I started watching the YouTube clips of who was the kid that United were linked with erroneously during the week.
Sander Berg.
Sander Berg. Watched his YouTube highlights. Wow. That is Zidane. I was watching again. That's exactly what we need. He's a baller.
They turned out to be a 15-year-old child.
Yeah. But it does appear that he's going to sign for the best United in the league now anyway. So
Picked the right one, Sheffield. Yeah. You're not an avid FPL player, are you, Johnny?
I'm not. No, I gave up a couple of years ago in that I was so frustrated with myself that, if you miss it for a week and you forget to make substitutions and finishing sort of 80,000th.
A lot of players must do that.
I think so.
I think by this point in the season, often I do that. This podcast is keeping us going a little bit. Me and Dave especially. But Sam had a fantastic week again. 70 points that he got this week.
It was all right. Played my wild card. It was a bit mixture of vision, style.
And luck.
Really had a lot of luck, yeah.
Imagine if you didn't have those United players in your team. Imagine how well you'd be doing. Martial and Williams.
Dragging you down.
Well, Williams, since I brought him in, has absolutely balled out. So that's a silly comment.
What,
He had
with
a good first week.
with 1 point last week?
Yeah, but he got 11 the week before, so joke's
And
on
then
you. That's
two
like
Martial
that's
this
like
week.
averaging. I've had him for 2 weeks. That's like averaging a clean sheet a game.
All right, let's see how he does between now and the end of the season.
Brilliant. And Martial, yeah, fair enough. That's a stupid choice.
Yeah, I put Martial in as well.
But
But half your points for Salah, but it was a good pick for captain.
yeah, if only I played my wild card last week. No, my wild card, my free hit, which I am now regretting because I just saw now that the game week 28 is going to have a blank week for Man City, Arsenal, Villa, and Sheffield United.
I did warn you. I did say it's not a good week for a free hit.
Do what I want.
You
Still got
do
a
what you
wild
want.
card.
Maybe I can make up the ground a little bit in that week. I'm now, oh God, I can't do maths. I'm like 50 points behind you. It's a distant second now. It's fine.
So what I'm looking forward to. So me and Dave both have a reasonable week where we get about. I don't know. I need to get 58 points, and Dave can get anything below 70. It means I'm in the 1400s and you're still in the 1200s.
There's like some vendetta there or something, isn't there?
Yeah, Dave didn't have quite a strong week, did
no,
you?
it was an awful week. It was an awful week.
Summed up pretty
Yeah,
perfectly.
captain Mane was the whole. That just really rubbed salt into the wound. Thankfully, Liverpool got a clean sheet against West Ham, so Trent Alexander-Arnold came up with 12 points and Van Dijk with 8. Otherwise, it would have been probably my worst week ever
Yeah.
in fantasy football. But yeah, that's the Mane one. I'm sure it affected quite a lot of people. Sam was wise enough to get Salah in, and even though you captained Mane, didn't you?
No, Captain Salah.
Oh, sorry,
mate.
yeah, you captained Salah, but you had Mane, and you didn't really miss him in the end, did you? So
Well,
it's,
no. But it's almost like, having a 13-month season and then going straight into playing another season will come back and bite you in the arse at some stage. I'm gobsmacked Mane's lasted this long without getting injured.
Half
Yeah,
a
it
million
was on the
people
cards.
dropped him now. 500,000 FPL players. He's quickly gone out the window. He won't be playing this weekend, will he?
No, I think you were saying a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I've dropped him as well, actually.
Have you?
I feel like
Have you?
I've got to really.
Such a knee jerk.
No, it's not really, because desperate. I feel like my team's constantly in desperate measures. I'm like scrambling around trying to get some points from somewhere, but a lot of people are just doing the swap, aren't they, for Salah? But Salah's
Yeah.
I think he's 100,000 more than 100,000 more than Mane at the moment.
Yeah, now that he's dropped in price.
So if you haven't got any in the bank, it's difficult to do.
Yes.
Well,
I'm trying to see how much I've got in my bank. Not a lot, I don't think.
So I've got 0.7.
It's nothing. It's empty. I've got an empty bank.
If I could lend some to you, I would. I'd give you it all, but I can't. So I'm gonna have to spend it myself.
I don't. I think I'm gonna keep Mane in there. I'm just gonna let him sit on my bench. Bring Almiron in. It's a big week for him. I brought him in my wild card. Some skepticism, but he's in decent form at the moment as Almiron. So I say that he's only got, oh my God, no, he's not in that decent form. I like to think he's in decent form. Better form in the FA Cup than he is in the league.
I think there's some players like that. For me, Mane's been a bit like that since I had him in the team. I've been expecting him to score highly every week. And, well, go back to game week 22, 3 points against Tottenham, 3 points against Man United, 1 point against Wolves. So I was getting a bit frustrated with him anyway. So he's, over 12 million. It wasn't exactly, bringing in the big points totals every week. So I don't know. It's almost like forced my hand on it anyway, because I was starting to feel a bit annoyed with what he was bringing back to the team anyway. So
Vardy is another one who I think a lot of FPL managers are fleeing from after such a right period where he was getting points every single week. Nearly 500,000 have dropped him as well. So a lot of people tossing him out. Ings, Rashford and Abraham are also in the top 5 for people being dropped. So a lot of...
You're like naming my team here.
It's too bad you've already used your wildcard, Dave?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Too bad.
So I don't know. He's been injured for a couple, or was he dropped? I can't remember. But Vardy's not scored for 6 matches.
Yeah, it's getting... I nearly dropped him in the wildcard, and I think I kept him in just out of stubbornness. But now I'm thinking about maybe jumping on that bandwagon.
Calvert-Lewin's been a big pick. I mean, since game week 20 when he got 12 points against Newcastle, then scored a couple of points in the following 2 game weeks, but then 8 against West Ham and 5 against Newcastle again. Maybe you could say some easy fixtures there, but he's not expensive. 5.9 million, decent pick.
Adama Traore is currently the hot prospect in
Still
FPL.
cheap as well.
Yeah, he's only 5.8. He's got 10 points and 5 points in his last 2 games. Obviously, he's become quite quickly become quite a cult hero in the Premier League due to his stature, his physicality, and he seems to be someone who a lot of people are getting in their teams. I was tempted during the Wild
Has he been
Cup.
playing more on the left or on the right?
I couldn't give you an emphatic answer to that. I can search for you.
I think
That'll
he's more,
do, actually, yeah.
I think he's more on the right, isn't he? Yeah,
Is he?
It's
Well, he's
where he
gonna-
destroyed City from. Anyway.
He's going to be up against Brandon Williams this weekend, so I'd leave him out.
In his pocket, like he had with that Burnley team.
Is there any
On the
chance
right.
of Traore going on to another club from Wolves, like one of the top
Definitely.
4 teams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least this might be his Gareth Bale year, where
Yeah.
he's gone from like skinny guy to absolute beefcake, and he's just running through teams.
It'd be interesting to see how he gets on at a bigger club where maybe there'd be a bit more focus on him. And I've always thought that with players like Zaha as well. How would he do if there was real attention on him every week? Playing at Chelsea, Manchester United, Man City or Liverpool.
I think
or
with
something.
Zaha, he'd probably be better.
Do you think?
Yeah, playing with better players, and he's used to being the man. He'd still be the man, but with almost like less footballing pressure.
Do you think it
Because
takes a bit of
other players-
focus off him because there's
Yeah,
better players around him?
But then the fans, and the scope and scale of the club will add that extra level of intensity to it. So he still keeps that. But if he's having an off day, Palace are screwed. If he's playing for, say United is screwed, Arsenal is screwed, Chelsea is probably screwed. If he's playing for like Liverpool or City, then
Which, I'm pretty sure every professional player would love to be playing in those teams.
Sure they
to be
would.
honest.
So top of the UK Fantasy Football Show League is Muyin Islam, who had a fantastic week. He got 105 points in this game week. 48 points for Salah because he triple captained him. What a pick that is for triple captain.
skill.
He also has Isaac Hayden in his team, which I think is a bold pick that I do quite like. He got 5 points from him the week. But yeah, he had a very, very good week. Has Trent Alexander-Arnold in his team. He has Henderson in his team, who Sam was saying earlier is the top scoring goalkeeper now in the league, he thinks. In amongst that
Got
mix.
11 points,
I
didn't
think
he,
he is.
last week?
Yeah,
You think he is?
I'll have a quick look. But I thought you were talking about Jordan Henderson. I was like, when was
Yeah, I
I
thought
boarding
that.
him?
101 points as a
Yeah, he is,
goalkeeper.
yeah.
Yes, so yeah, he's having a fantastic week as me and Islam. So well done to him. If you want to join our league and test yourself against us all season long, the code to type in on the FPL website is NHC4WZ. Sam's placed 318th in that league. I'm placed 717th in that league. Dave Dave is 1,465th.
Wow. I didn't realise we had that many players in it.
So this week our big talking point, in honour of Johnny being with us, is Manchester City. So they might be ahead of 18 teams in the league, but there's one team obviously who they're not ahead of. Liverpool, 19 points behind them now at this point, with no more games in hand, so it is more level. What's the hope now for this year for fans? Because obviously the title race is gone. What would be success for them? What does it look like?
Well, to improve on the last 2 seasons, I think success would be the Champions League. It has to be. I think they won the treble last year, two domestic trophies, which they're still in. Obviously, reached the final against United after beating United. But they have to go for it in Europe. That has to become the most important thing. And you would think the way the table is now, so far behind Liverpool, pretty much clear of that 4th spot. They're not going to finish outside the top 4, so that has to become the focus, I think.
Yeah. And do you think that they've got a good chance there? Obviously, they've got the big tie of the round against Real Madrid.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very difficult. I think we all know what the problems are. It's conceding goals, and they don't seem to be able to stop it. Like we said against United, one shot on target, and they concede a goal, and that's what it's been like all season.
I disagree. When you're going into a Champions League knockout match, you're going to concede a goal. You conceded a goal against United. We didn't score, and you dicked about in front of goal so much. If you do that, you're not a cup-winning team.
But if you go back to the last 3 exits from the Champions League, it's all been down to conceding goals. They conceded 6 against Monaco, went out on away goals, 5 against Liverpool, 4 against Spurs, went out on away goals, really. Best run they've had, they got to semi-final, played Real Madrid, and you look at that team, it was a pretty awful team compared to the one they've got now. People like Fernando, Gael Clichy were a part of that side, and they were in it until the very last whistle. Drew the first leg 0-0, 1-0 down in the second leg, and they just needed one dodgy handball, like that VAR might give you or something like that, and they were into the final. And if you keep it tight, you've got a better chance, haven't you?
Yeah, so basically we need to say they need to concede less and score more.
Yeah,
that's the magic arithmetic of football, isn't it?
You need to give that information to Pep.
Yeah,
some good insight.
Might just hefty consultancy fee, but I think they'll be able to afford it.
What does their defense, like their best defense, look like then, Man City? Because there's so much rotation in there, and there's obviously a lot of injuries as well. But what does it look like?
It's very difficult. I think if Laporte is fully fit, he's the only certainty, I would say. Mendy's up and down. I think he's been more up lately, but he's not played the last 2 games. He's still got this injury hanging over him. They're looking after him. I bet Pep likes Fernandinho as a centre back, so he probably will be the partner for Laporte. And then I guess Walker ahead of Cancelo. I think they would hope that Cancelo would be a bit further on than he is now, but he's playing as a left-sided centre back.
What was the story with Cancelo? Because I've always had him down as like sort of one of the better right backs in the world, and when you guys bought him, I was like, that's a ridiculously brilliant transfer, and he's been crap. He's hardly played.
It's just not settled. I mean, it does take time sometimes for players to settle at City. We've seen it. Bernardo, the first season wasn't fantastic. Second season was amazing. Mahrez similarly. There's been a few examples like that. So it may be that just getting to grips with the Pep system, fullbacks are very important, but he doesn't seem to have an awful lot of confidence, particularly going forward. I'm not sure if he's had any assists this season, even.
No, not in the Premier League.
That's not good enough for a fullback at the top of the table this year. You look at Robertson, Alexander-Arnold, Mendy when it's at his best. They all get lots and lots of assists, and Cancelo, he gets into the final third, and he's not this player that they signed from Juventus.
Do you think
he's not.
They should throw him straight in, these players? Sometimes they're a bit like, we'll kind of phase him in and see how he gets on and let him get settled. I almost think that gives the players time to almost like start to overthink whether they're ever going to get in the team. And
do you know how many minutes Cancelo's played this season in the league?
Walker started the majority of the first half of the season, I would have thought.
He's played 667 minutes all season, and we're just about to get into February. That's disconcerting.
Yeah, he's been brought in to be a Premier League and Champions League fullback, and he's not doing it at the moment.
If only he was a centre-back. There's been lots of room for centre-backs in City's team this season.
Plenty of room. Yeah, and that was another strange one last night, that they start with 3 centre-backs. Fernandinho's not there, Laporte's not there, and yet John Stones is on the bench, and I think that says a lot about the way John Stones' season's gone this year. Yeah,
for me, John Stones seems like I thought he would have got rid of him by now. There's been often like periods where I think it was before the World Cup, the last couple of months before the World Cup in 2018, he seemed to completely fall out of favour with Pep, and it was like, is he going to move on in the summer? But he stuck around, not particularly successfully.
No.
It can't be said. Otamendi is another one who he might have good periods every now and then, but it doesn't seem like he's a world-class centre-back, so that's probably fair to say.
No, I think we saw another example of it last night where United weren't creating chances. They get the ball forward in the last minutes, not doing anything with it, and Otamendi decides to clatter into Martial, I think it was, on the edge of the box.
It was Harry Maguire.
It was Maguire, yeah.
Wonderful moment. I showed Miles this morning when KDB's just going ballistic at him. Just going, why? And you could just see the disgust and disappointment in De Bruyne of just going, I'm so much better at you, just from a technical perspective, but just understanding the idea of the game of football.
Just thinking about what you're doing.
I'm so much better than you at thinking. And that made me also decide that when Pep goes in the summer, that De Bruyne will be first out the door as well.
Unfortunately, neither of those things are going to happen. But
this is the land of hot takes, Jonathan.
That look that De Bruyne gave Otamendi, it's like the look I get at five-a-side when I'm playing with someone much better than me, and I've missed a chance, and then you look and you just feel so guilty.
What are you doing?
I am way out my depth here. You mentioned Pep just then, so you don't think he'll be moving on in the summer then?
Well, I asked him a question of staying even longer than that, and he took it completely the wrong way, and thought I was asking him about the summer, and he said, I'm 100% staying. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry about that, but I am 100% staying. So,
bit mardy.
100, yeah, as ever. But I think the Champions League is the big one, isn't it? If he can win that with City, then his legacy is set. He's had those 2 seasons. If the way Liverpool are going, they're going to break that record, and that's going to slightly damage what he's done here.
I think it'll be, if City win the Champions League and Liverpool win the Premier League, I think both teams will be pretty happy, won't they? For Liverpool, they've had a few European Cup Champions League wins. They haven't had a title win since the late 80s? They didn't win in the 90s,
89, 90, yeah.
Yeah. So they would really love that, but City, clearly Europe is now what they want.
Yeah,
so.
definitely.
Yeah, that
would be the perfect storm from a United fan, or the worst perfect storm.
You're just missing out on Europa League.
City winning the league, go for it. You've won it easily the last few years. Liverpool, whatever. You've got loads more Champions Leagues. It's a bit boring actually. You just win that, no one's bothered. But flip it around. That's what both teams want.
If or when Pep does leave, let's say he does stay a little bit longer, and let's say it's like 2 years' time, and he decides he wants to move on, new challenge, as many managers do. What sort of manager do you think they would get to succeed him? Because it's a big pair of shoes to fill. I think previous clubs where Pep Guardiola's left, it's often been a case of there being a bit of a vacuum and it being hard to find that manager who can fill those boots.
Yeah, it's going to be a big problem. I think they were looking at Arteta potentially as being a replacement, but there was always a nagging fear that the time was against him on that, and that Arteta wouldn't wait around forever, particularly when Arsenal came knocking. I think it was probably the right decision for him, and I think Pep and City understood that. So there certainly isn't anyone you would say within City or even the wider City football group who you would say is an obvious one to just take over and carry on what he's doing. So it's going to be who's available. Obviously, Poch is the one at the moment. You would say, if it happened now, Poch would be the one you would say would get the job.
Yeah,
I heard that they were looking and gearing up Giovanni Van Bronckhorst.
Yeah,
I think it might have been Charles, our Arsenal correspondent, who mentioned that when the whole Arteta deal was kicking off, which took me completely by surprise. I didn't even realise I know he did pretty well at Feyenoord, I think. But I didn't realise that was a potential plan, or even if it is, it might just been complete hearsay. Yeah,
I don't think he was in the plan to take over directly from Pep. He spent a lot of time within the City football group over the last couple of months learning about how it all works, about the systems that they're trying to play throughout the group. At New York and at Melbourne, they want to try and get us playing in a similar way as much as possible. So they were looking at him at New York. He was a possibility for New York. He was Claudio Reyna was a senior person there. They're very, very good friends. But now Reyna's gone, and that kind of put the kibosh on Van Bronckhorst going there. So he's off to China.
Oh,
he's in China.
Maybe
now.
not yet. Is he gone?
Yeah, he's there. He's probably not doing much right now.
Yeah, I imagine he's just holed up in a hotel room with him, isn't he?
And in terms of the players, we talked about Guardiola. In terms of the players, are there any players right now with City who are really on fire that FPL managers should try and veer towards for picking?
I think the problem with City from a fantasy football point of view is the rotation, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it drives us crazy.
Yeah, picking them. I guess you start with the ones who are likely to play every week, and obviously De Bruyne would be the top of that list. He very rarely misses a Premier League game. And then at the moment, Aguero, he's just scoring for fun. They got Spurs at the weekend. He likes scoring against Spurs. He got quite a good record. I think he scored a hat-trick at White Hart Lane in the past. So
he's in decent form as well.
Yeah, I think it's before the United game. I think he scored in last 5 or 6 games. So.
Yeah, he started with a blast at the start of the season. Got a bit injured, didn't he? Was out for a while. Wasn't quite in form. But yeah, he's come back with a bang since New Year, and I think a lot of FPL managers have him in their teams now. He's expensive though. I've got him in my team, but god damn it, he's expensive.
I think it's probably easier to pick the ones to avoid.
Yeah.
And after last night, I would say David Silva is not going to score a goal again during his career at City if he can't smack it in from 10 yards or even try.
That's a good hot take. We'll take that.
Yeah.
Edit that.
What's your opinion on Sterling then? What's why his season tailed off so quickly?
Yeah, it's a bit alarming the way
he started so well, didn't he? I mean, he was just on absolute fire, and everyone in FPL had him in their team, and he was consistently scoring points every week. And then it just something seemed to happen, and it's just like off a cliff.
Yeah, I mean, Pep was talking about him playing too many minutes. He thought he might have played too many minutes. yet he starts in the cup. He came off the bench against Fulham, so
Yeah,
he probably needs a little bit of a rest. I mean, he played through the summer as well with England.
of course. Yeah. Is it just a confidence thing now? Do you think? Can you see that when you watch him? Do you think to yourself that is a player who's lacking confidence at the moment? Or not quite?
A little bit. I think his confidence has gone down a little bit, but not too much. I mean, he made the right move against United. Where it was that sort of classic City move, passing it, opening up United, get the ball wide, low cross in. He's on the end of it, tucks it away, and he's half an armpit offside and it doesn't count. So that would have been. But then second half, he races through against De Gea, and you just think just slide it underneath him, and he made a bit of a mess of it. Really,
Very huge mess out of it. Yeah,
so,
That's the Sterling of old, isn't it? That we used to see where he didn't quite get it.
And if you go back to the Real chat and needing to beat teams in cups, that's the kind of moment where you've got to finish it. And all I could think was if that was Jamie Vardy, that'd be absolutely stuck in the bottom corner. He'd just be thinking goal, 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 goal. I know what I'm doing here. Whereas I don't know whether it was panic, the occasion got to Sterling. I don't know, but it was bad.
Yeah. I mean, there was a similar one against Wolves just over a month ago where they were down to 10 men and he raced clear and he just knew exactly what to do with it. He just drew the keeper out into a position and chipped it over him, and it was a classic sort of striker's goal. So, yeah, lost a little bit of confidence in front of goal, but I wouldn't be too alarmed long term. I think one of the things is that the teams who come to the Etihad now play a slightly different strategy. They fill the box, so we've seen a lot less of those goals where they just slam it across the 6-yard box low and he gets on the end of it. He's brilliant at making those runs, so that's where it's dried up a little bit. And
what about Mahrez? Do you think he's going to? Does he own that right wide midfield slot now?
I think at the moment he does. Yeah, I would expect him to start against Spurs.
He reminds me a bit of Robin, in that Robin always had that one trick where he'd cut inside and then slam it, and you'd always be going, you know what he's going to do, and then he'd still always do it. And Mahrez just seems a bit like that. He'd do a right-footed step over, then cut inside on his left, and then generally get a shot off or fake and then cut back in. He still does it now. It worked when he was at Leicester. I think he's an awesome player.
His touch, his skill is amazing, and that drag back is outrageous sometimes. I mean, the number of times you see 2 or 3 defenders going the wrong way, and the stadium. I mean, they're getting better and better, getting more important to Pep's team.
He started 4 of the last 5 league games, which for a Man City attacker is pretty decent, to be honest, unless you're De Bruyne.
Yeah.
So he got 17 points in one of the recent game weeks. That was when they beat Villa 6-1. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So you can see him starting then this weekend.
I think he'll start this weekend. Yeah, he played in the Champions League game away at Spurs last season. So that perhaps a little bit of a marker to what Pep's thinking is.
Was that the one they won 1-0?
Lost 1-0.
Lost 1-0. Sorry.
Yeah. Maybe from a fantasy football perspective, penalties have been a huge problem at City recently. So Gundogan, I would think, would be maybe second choice after Aguero. Gundogan's very reliable, but it's very difficult to predict when he's going to play.
Yeah, not exactly a great player to have.
So that's not a lot of help at all, is what I've just said.
What about Jesus then? How's he looking at the moment?
Well, on the back of penalties, he's not. It's terrible from the spot. He missed his last 4 kicks.
Is he?
Just
2 for City, 2 for Brazil. And they've
you
all
have to
been
retire
pretty
if that happens. Go into witness protection, change your name, leave your family behind.
But he still scores a lot of goals. He's got a lot away from the Etihad. Strangely, he seems to score. I think he's only scored 1 this season at the Etihad or something like
really?
that. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll have to double check that, but I think he's
quite impressive away then.
Yeah.
What about Leroy Sané? He must be back soon.
He was back training with the first team this week, which is the first time, not a full session. So I would still think he's 2 or 3 weeks away from being considered.
Yeah.
And when he comes back, I think they'll be
sort of post winter break then.
Yeah. I think they'll be slow with him as well. So he'll be in and out of the team. Laporte came back against Sheffield United, misses the next 2 games. Probably play against Spurs. So I would think that he'll be gently brought in.
Do you think they'll bother really trying to reintegrate him, given that the betting man would say he's off this summer? You think, well, we don't want to crock him again. And if you can give more game time to your players who are going to still be around next season, especially if that includes getting Foden a bit more games, why bother?
I think it looked like he was definitely going to Bayern Munich. He was 95% nailed on. He's changed his agent, and there's a bit of talk out of Germany that it might not be quite as clear cut as it once was. Pep would still like to have him. They've had their problems, him and Pep. He doesn't always give 100% in training, which is a problem. You have to do it day in, day out for Pep. There was a strange one a couple of years ago where the majority of his squad were away at the World Cup, and Sane was strangely left out. He thought, right, at the start of the season, Sane is going to be absolutely key, and I don't think he started a game in the first 6 weeks. He was playing, he was playing Sterling. He was still at the World Cup in the third place playoff, and he was playing, and Sane was nowhere near it. So that's the issue. So if Sane can put that right, City would be more than happy to keep him.
Interesting. I do, from a buying perspective, they annoy me with the way their executives brief. Go, we're not going to talk about anyone, but by the way, we've all got Sane in our fantasy league teams. Big fan of him from a fantasy league perspective, but we don't talk about other players. But the idea of Sane on one wing and Gnabry on the other, that makes Bayern interesting to watch. That that's like, well, the new Robin and Ribéry there, isn't it, for them?
Definitely, yeah. That'd be an interesting attack.
It's his contract situation is the problem from City. He's running out of time all the time. He's 18 months now, and like you say, one more serious injury, and he becomes a free transfer. Then
have they not got a 1 year option on that either?
No,
that's the United thing, isn't it? You love that.
Yeah,
just throw in that with every single contract you have. It's like get that 1 year extension in there.
It works best that with Pogba.
Yeah,
because I think he's got 2 years left now on his contract. I was like, oh bloody hell, we're gonna have to sell him this summer because otherwise he's going into danger
2 years,
territory.
like 2022.
I can't remember.
Okay,
let's just say yeah. But then you've got the option on top. So you're like, well, you're here for the next 3 years, mate. So he's obviously
keeping him hostage.
Pretty much. And hopefully Stockholm Syndrome will set in at some stage. She'll go, actually, I really enjoy it here.
Maybe start playing good football.
Yeah, maybe I'll play football. Never mind the good football. That's baby steps.
Leaving behind our Man City chat, let's look specifically at Game Week 25. Before we run through mine, David, Sam's changes, Johnny will be revealing his 1 week wonder team when he has to get as many points as possible from this one game week using 11 players plus a captain. You got some subs as well, just in case some of them don't start. Last week, Mark improved on his previous score with 42 points, but that's still pretty poor for overall scores. Nothing on Neil Jones's 77 points. So that's what you've got to beat, Johnny. What's your team look like?
It's not a wonder team by any stretch of the imagination. So I've gone for Martin Dubravka in goal on the basis that Newcastle have got Norwich at home, so there's a decent chance he can keep a clean sheet.
There's a chance.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say decent.
It's like Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance?
He's not been as good this season, Dubravka. Like last season, I would have hailed him as an absolute god in goal, but he's had really big off days. Yeah. But you are right. If you're going to keep a clean sheet and you're going to be at home, of all the teams to pick, you might go.
He's the goalkeeping version of Solskjaer. He was amazing on loan.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you signed him, made it permanent.
Very much so. And your sub goalkeeper is
Stecklenburg of Everton. And then a back three, I guess this is high risk in that they're all Liverpool players. So if Liverpool concede, then obviously I'm stuffed. But I've gone for Van Dijk, Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, with Alexander-Arnold as captain.
Is it Southampton they're at home to?
Yeah. They do score, don't they, Southampton? So
Ings, yeah. Didn't score last week. I'm not sure if they scored, but Ings didn't score.
I've gone all or nothing with that one, I think.
Okay.
So two subs are Ake and Yedlin.
What I would say is one of the person has done that this season. They went all or nothing with Sheffield United defenders, and it worked for them. So there's a good precedent for it.
So my 5-man midfield is De Bruyne and Mahrez. I think they'll start for City.
Okay.
I was interested in Traore chat. I've gone for Traore based on the fact that he's absolutely torn City apart twice this season. So I've been hugely impressed with him, and I think. The United game is going to be an odd one, is it? It's going to be two counter-attacking teams, so I don't know how that's going to work out. But
football won't be the winner. I think the most interesting thing about that game is whether anyone actually goes through with their chat of walking out on the 58th or 68th minute. My guess is that not enough will.
Yeah.
To make it obvious to the media that this thing has happened. A couple might, but you need 10,000 people to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been organised anything close to that. And I imagine a lot of people go, oh, I'm here now. I've put the money in the Glazers' pocket, so I've done the bad thing.
That's always been the problem with Newcastle's attempts to have protests. Is fans are just like, I can't be bothered. I just can't. I'm here, as you say. It's the case of I'm here now. I may as well just sit.
Yeah,
out.
one of my good mates is a Newcastle fan, and like every summer his Facebook will be filled with like Ashley Oot, and then like come the first game of the season, there's a selfie of him in St James's Park. It's like, Stevie, you're not getting this, are you?
So you've not got United player in your team then, or did you?
No United players.
Players in your team. So who's your fourth midfielder?
I like Harry Wilson at Bournemouth. They are playing Villa, and I'm not impressed with Villa at all. And I think they might have a bit of a hangover from the League Cup victory. So I fancy Bournemouth to win that game. The other midfielder is Lo Celso of Spurs. I would expect Spurs to score. I quite like the look of him so far.
He looks good, doesn't he? Especially with Eriksen gone now. I think he'll get some serious game time.
Yeah.
Have they taken the option up on him now?
Yeah, that happened at the same time. Yeah, Mourinho was bigging him up before, which was very Mourinho thing to do. Clearly, just trying to motivate him a little bit. But he does seem to have improved since Posh went. So fair play to him.
Yeah, and then up front, Aguero, of course, has to be Aguero, and Kelechi Iheanacho. Watched him a lot at City. I thought there was a lot of potential there. I thought Leicester was the wrong move for him, and I think he would have been better going into Europe, going to a European side. I think he'd have scored a lot of goals elsewhere. But now he's starting to come good. He scored a couple of goals last few games. Getting a bit. He's a bit of a confidence player. Chelsea.
I used to have Iheanacho when he first moved to Leicester because I was really impressed with how he was playing at City. I thought Leicester got a bit of a steal there. Was it 30 mil they paid for him?
It was less than that. Yeah, I think it was just over 20. Yeah,
a bloody bargain.
Yeah.
So I thought at least. So I got him in my fantasy league team about a few years ago, and he was crap.
Yeah.
And I think I gave up that fantasy team within about 3 weeks. Just ignored it for the rest of the season, and I blame Kelechi Iheanacho for that. But I'm glad he's come good.
Who's your sub?
Ayew from Palace.
Okay. A popular sub. Sam's had a sub most of the season. Yeah. Cool. That looks like a decent team. Who have you gone as captain?
Alexander-Arnold.
Okay.
As captain. Yeah.
That's a better pick than last week when Mark, who we had on, went for Mason Greenwood as captain, which seemed baffling considering Liverpool had the double game week, and he only got 1 point. So proved to be the case. But best of luck with that team. We'll have a look next week how it's performed. Dave, how's your team looking as you look to recover?
All right, but what I've done this week is I've taken a 4-point hit because what the hell? Get Mane out because I couldn't swap Mane out for Salah directly because of that 0.1 million difference.
Again, if I could give it to you, mate.
So Salah's in and Traore's in as well for Martial. So they are my two changes with a -4 hit for that, just to bolster that midfield a little bit.
Do you have a bit of money in the bank now as well?
Yeah, I do on the back of that. But the other option, which I was thinking of, was actually getting Aguero in there and maybe losing Calvert-Lewin, which I can do if, fiddle things around a bit and don't go with Salah in midfield. And I don't know which way I'm leaning. I kind of feel like Aguero is more of a out-and-out goal scorer. He'll score like 2-3 against teams. I never feel like Salah really does that. He doesn't really go to town on teams as much, really. But I don't know.
He's in good form.
Yeah, he is.
Hard to
So
dispute that.
that's kind of where I'm at. The rest of the team is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
I've still got Alexander-Arnold and Van Dijk at the back. Lundstrom's in there. Kelly. Tanganga was your...
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
You cursed him. You saying thanks for that. You cursed him. You
So
cursed
he
all
got
of our
dropped
players.
as soon as I put him in. And you've got him as well, haven't you, Sam? And, yeah.
I had him in my in my free hit.
Yeah.
But given that Kyle Walker-Peters has gone to Southampton, it looks like Tanago is going to play a lot more. So I've just pronounced his name wrong, but I don't think he's listening to this.
No.
If you are, give us a shout. You can come on.
Yeah, more than welcome. But he's 4 million, so I'm going to
Exactly.
give him a
Don't
couple
really
of weeks
matter,
to see if
so,
he's back in the team.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to start him this week anyway because it's Man City. That'll be a bold pick to start defender against City with their attack. But I haven't decided on my transfers yet. I can't make a decision. I don't think I'm going to drop Mane like you. I don't think I'm going to take that because then I'd have to get him back. And because I've had him for so long, like I'm kind of got him at a cut price rate. And then, you know, when you bring him back in, you have to pay a bit more for it. So I'm going to keep with him for now, see how long he's out. There's the winter break, which is coming up, I'm going to do inverted commas there. So hopefully he can heal a bit over that winter break and come back in the sort of form we saw in the first half of the season, rather than when he's fallen off a little bit in the second half of the season. Not quite at Salah level.
I feel like you're talking yourself out of it here a little bit.
I'm not talking myself out of it. I'm going to stick to my guns. I just haven't decided what transfer to do yet. Maybe Vardy. Vardy's gone off kilter a bit, hasn't he? They've got Chelsea. It's the sort of game that he might actually turn up in, though. So I have talked myself out of that one successfully. Maddison might be the one to go. He's not done a lot for me lately. He might be the one for the chop. He got 11 points a few weeks ago, but he's just got 2-2-2 since then. So the last 3 games. I think he might go.
It just further adds to my argument that if you had to sign one of Grealish or Maddison, you absolutely get Grealish.
Well, if you're Man United, yeah, but
if you're any team in the planet, you get. If you had to pick between the two, and those are the only two, you pick Grealish.
I'd pick Maddison if I was Newcastle.
I'm not a fan of either of their haircuts, but I prefer Maddison's hair.
Yeah, Maddison's definitely got
that
better hair. Yeah.
Salon d'Or. You can win that.
How's
one.
Grealish done then in the last few weeks in fantasy football? Just trying to find him here on the
just balled out, mate.
Midfielders.
I mean,
he's up at the top. Look,
I'm on the first one. Where is he?
He's there.
Let's have a look.
He's pretty much the only player of any FPL significance to Villa's team, isn't he?
He's done quite well against championship teams, I suppose you could say. Burnley, Brighton.
Yeah.
13 and 10 points, but yeah, all right. He is. They're the same mould, those two, aren't they? So.
Yeah, they've got Bournemouth away this week, so maybe if you fancy them, Grealish, you can throw him in. What about you, Sam? What have you done?
I don't know yet. I've got to sort of re-understand my team because I'm back to my original one after the free hit. So I've got Tarkowski in defence still, and Kelly, Soyuncu, Lundstram, and Brandon Williams. So I need to do something about Tarkowski.
Why? You got a clean sheet at the weekend.
Yeah, but I just don't trust him.
Oh, okay.
I brought him in thinking it sort of coincided with Pope falling down as well. So I don't trust Burnley.
But Pope has smashed it as well the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm well aware. So I might put Gomez in because, as Neil said the other week, it's his centre-back spot to lose, and he's only 0.1 more. And then midfield, I'm not feeling it at the moment. I've got Mane, so I could do with shifting him. De Bruyne staying. Martial. He's due his good game, though, in the next couple. So.
That's why I can't drop him
against
as well.
Wolves, though?
Every single time, Martial is the bane of my season. Yeah. Every single time I put him in my team, does nothing. Take him out, smashes it. Throw him back in, does nothing. It's a cycle.
Cantwell, he's performing well for 4.8. I don't like him, though. I think it might be his hair.
Oh, so it's not his name, it's his hair this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of prejudice against hair.
There is,
isn't there, actually?
Yeah.
Dele Alli, I think I might keep, but again, I'm not feeling it.
No.
I'm surprised you've stuck with him, to be honest.
Yeah, I wanted to get rid of him a while ago, but I've no reason to dislike Ali for a completely
like his hair.
He's all right.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I like his attitude.
Okay, that's the important thing.
Yeah. Vardy, Aguero, and Ayew up front. I'll keep them 3 for time being. Just see what happens.
I'm tempted to throw Adama Traore in, but the fact that Dave's picked him up has put me off because you just keep killing off these players.
Yeah,
and I'm fed up of it.
There's definitely an ACL going to happen to him. So.
I'm just gonna look at who you don't have, I think, and maybe lean towards them instead. But Wolves,
that's a good way to go.
Yeah, Wolves. I might throw one of Wolves players in because although on paper they have a tricky run, the fact that they do so well against the top teams probably makes them a little bit more appealing. Jimenez is the second most popular pick at the moment in FPL this game week. A lot of players flocking towards him. He's been doing quite well recently, I believe. So there we go, another one to watch there. Let's wrap this up then. Dave, Sam, Johnny, thanks very much for joining us today. Listeners, you can get in touch by tweeting your fantasy football thoughts with the hashtag UKFFS.
Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, follow on Spotify, or however you listen to podcasts on your favourite platform. Leave a review if you liked it, and if you didn't, what are you still doing here? Check out Goal for your daily dose of football news from the Premier League and around the world. Thanks for listening.